Welcome back. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Laura Jaggett, and you are listening to the 25th episode of the How to Life podcast. I've done 25 episodes. I think that's a milestone. It's definitely a milestone for me. At the start of this year, I had not even considered doing a podcast. Then when it was suggested to me, I had no idea how to even begin going about starting one. But something sparked. And then I kept seeing things about it. I heard people talking about it. It was showing up on my radar. And then it dawned on me that maybe all these things might be signs. So I tuned into my intuition and I followed where it led. And here I am. And how absolutely perfect that this episode is about how to hear that inner voice, how to recognize what it's saying to you, and how to focus on rather than dismiss that guidance. I'm joined today by Miinkay Yu, who is a career coach and helps people define what it is that they want. She has a wonderful story of how she was led to this calling, and she shares some tips and wisdom so that you can start doing it too. Hi, Miinkay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the How to Life podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so my name is Miinkay Yu. I'm living in California right now, and I'm a career coach. And I specialize in helping people find their inner guidance, their intuition, so that they can use that to find their own career path, their own calling, their purpose. Because that's the journey that I went through to become a career coach, actually. I was in a job that I didn't like, I didn't enjoy, and I tried to figure out what to do. I went so many different directions, and all of them just exploded.
Imploded.
Imploded and ended up on a black hole. And I just reached this point where I was like, well, what do I do? How do I know what I want to do with my life?
So you learned this a little bit later on. As a child, were you kind of directed into the place you were going to go, or were you allowed to express your own voice?
I kind of had a direction set. Yeah. I mean, you go to school, you're told, okay, get A's so you can get into a good college. So I always knew, okay, college is the goal. And then high school was the same way, do your extracurriculars, get good grades, do your AP classes, get a high SAT, make sure you're going to get into a good school because college sets you up for life.
And when you were in school, did you ever think about anything else when you were in high school? Or that was just the path you were on? You thought everybody did it, so that's what you were going to do?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything else. Both my parents went to college. Everyone around me, my high school was very competitive, and, at least 10 to 15% of the students went to Ivy League schools. So a lot of the culture was, okay, you're going to go to college. What college are you going to go to? Are you going to go to the best one? Who's going to get into the Harvard? Who's going to get into the Ivy League and leave our little town? So coming from the Midwest, the South, you're kind of away from the big cities. And so you're thinking, oh, I want to see the rest of the world. And college was like your ticket out of there.
When did you start thinking, is this my calling, or is this what I was really meant to do? Or did you make it all the way through college and then got into a job before you started feeling unsettled?
Yeah, I kind of just chugged my way through college because I had that end goal of like, okay, I got to graduate with a degree. That's my ticket to freedom, because all my childhood was got to go to college. Then once you have a job, then you have money, and money was the ticket to freedom.
What was your degree in?
I got a degree in chemical engineering.
And what'd you do with that?
Nothing.
Did you ever work in that field at all?
I got an internship after my junior year, and I got there, and I was just bored out of my mind. I just did not like it. I tried to learn about all the other jobs that were in that place, and my supervisor was generous enough to set me up with being able to shadow all these different people so that I could learn. And after all that experience, I was still just uninterested.
So the real world was vastly different than the classroom setting. Just like
Oh, yeah.
this.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at how different it was,
Mhm.
and also very disillusioned. It made me rethink why even went to college.
So let's talk about that now. So now the questioning, this is the good part. The questioning has begun. What did you do with that? Did you ignore it? Did you talk about it with your friends or your parents or your family at all? What happened?
At that point, I was about to enter my senior year. 3 years into a degree, it's
It's hard to turn back at that point.
yeah, you just kind of like I gotta keep going, because the senior year is the job year. That's where you figure out what kind of career you're gonna have for the rest of the next, at least 2-3 years after graduating. You get your degree. I worked so hard for that degree. That was a very difficult degree to earn.
Mhm.
So there was no turning back for me. I didn't consider quitting. Even if I mentioned that idea to my parents, I think they would have freaked out a
Yeah.
lot. And so I decided I didn't want to work as an engineer. And I also applied to consulting positions. And consulting seemed like the best option at the time, because it was in business. I could still use my degree, quote unquote, is what I was told. They wanted to hire engineers, and so that's what I ended up doing. I got a job as a consultant. Um, that was kind of disillusioning too, because I felt like the way that we did things was not always the most efficient. I learned what red tape means.
So as you're feeling this disillusionment, you are talking to yourself. Your inner voice is speaking to you. Did you know that at that time?
I had no idea. I could not hear it, for sure. I could not hear it at
But
all.
you had symptoms of frustration, of
Oh yeah.
disillusionment, negative feelings. You ignored
No.
those. You ignored those initial negative feelings.
Oh yeah. Because I didn't know what else to do. Yeah.
There's a saying I like that kind of goes like, if you are ignoring the warning signs, don't worry, they'll get bigger until you have to say, "Oh, are you trying to say something to me?"
Oh yeah. They got so huge.
So what did you do? How did you get yourself out of that situation?
Oh wow. It took me 8 years. I tried to move within the company, try different avenues, work for other industries. So I started in oil, and then I went into finance, and then I went into healthcare, just to bounce around and see, are they really different? Would it make a difference? Do I feel, healthcare is more about helping people. So would I feel better about working for a company that's about healing and health? But in the end, it really wasn't this what I was looking for. Yeah.
So the feelings didn't go away and they maybe got a little bigger. So what did you start thinking? I'm in the wrong field.
Oh, yeah. I always knew I was in the wrong field.
Okay.
But when you have a job and you feel like you need to stick with a job, and you don't want to, quote unquote, waste the time that you spent in school, you don't want to waste the time that you spent at this job. It was a lot of internal turmoil of, how do I even leave this place if I wanted to? I have spent so much time and energy building this career, and it was actually I mean, I still worked on that career because you want to move up, you want to make more money, you want to, I kind of chase little things like, oh, I get to travel with this job, or this job might sound good because I get to do this kind of innovation, and or this job sounds better because I got to work with the CIO of this company. So there
I
were all
mean,
these little, yeah,
there were
things that I
positives. And
wanted.
actually, that is the best thing to do is to look at the positives. If you're in a place that you don't want to be in, it doesn't serve you to just focus on how much you hate it. Make an
Yeah,
intention that this
it's
is not
true.
forever. I want to go somewhere else. But in the meantime, I am going to find everything that I can that is good and get yourself in a better place and then make a decision and
Yeah.
then allow that new thing to come to you. Now, did you do other things outside of your job? Anything to make yourself feel better?
Oh yeah. After work, I would volunteer. I loved volunteer. I volunteered all through high school because I wanted to. I liked it, and so everywhere I went, I continued to do that. I I did things that I didn't have time to do. I took art classes. I got into cycling. I became really athletic. Traveled a lot. I tried to live my best life. despite having a career that I didn't enjoy.
That's the best thing you can do, because it did launch you and it did turn you in a direction of where you wanted to go. Tell me about the decision, how it came about to leave this job and go into something different.
All this time of 8 years of trying to figure out, okay, can I turn this career into what I want, or figure out something within this career that I can enjoy? And so I just had to really bite the bullet and say, I can't do this anymore.
Did you have any fear about what your family would say?
Oh, yeah.
But you got to a point where you said, I really cannot do this, and they're going to have to deal with it. And they did, I take it.
Yeah, they did. They had no choice.
So what was the feeling like that when you made that final decision, when you made it? What were you feeling at that time?
I was terrified.
But your desire to do something different was stronger than the fear, because you had sort of listened to the fear for 8 years or longer.
Yeah, because I knew the road ahead of me. If I kept walking into that career, I already knew what it was going to be like. Mm-hmm. And then this new path of quitting and not knowing what to do was terrifying, but in a way, it was a clear road.
Tell me a little bit about how you managed in this new path. Where did it take you? And what did you do to keep your focus?
Oh my gosh, focusing is so hard.
In the beginning, it really is, yes, especially if you've never done it before.
Going from someone who had a lot of structure into this, world where you create your own structure was definitely really difficult. I really took a long time, at least 6 months, to kind of figure out, this is how I want to be, this is what I want to do, and to allow myself the mental freedom, to give myself the permission to be where I am and not always be mad at myself for being lost, for not being in the correct career, for not knowing what to do, because I would spend a lot of time upset and worried about the position that I put myself in. And actually, in the first 6 months, I tried to look for another job in the same field. I was so scared about quitting and worried about my life. And all those were just internal things, because really, honestly, I was okay. Yeah. But it's just all these internal things that were telling me, you're not okay. You should be in a better place. Why aren't you in a better place? Why haven't you figured it out yet? Just telling myself that I'm not good enough or that I wasn't better. I had to start to put that aside before I could even figure out what I wanted.
Were you listening to your inner voice at the time?
I had just learned about my inner voice the beginning of that year. That was 2016. And I just started reading about it, learning about it, because I was trying to figure out my life. And I had reached a point where I felt like, I don't know who I can talk to. I don't have a mentor. I don't know anyone that's quit or changed their job or tried to find their calling. How do I do that? But the one clue that I had within myself was that I always had this desire to help people, this really yearning to be part of someone's life and to make a positive impact, which is why I volunteered all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I thought to myself, this yearning comes from somewhere. This thing that's always been with me is coming from somewhere. So what is it? Why is it always there? And can I use it to help me?
So how did you discover that? Did you just turn to books?
Yeah, I went to the library. I've always been a bookworm. My mother's a librarian. So I went to the library. I looked up inner voice. I looked up instinct. I found intuition. I found books on intuition. I started reading those books. And they told me that this inner voice is a part of you. It's always there. And it's guiding you to do what's right for you.
When you came across that information, did you feel a resonance with it?
I just really was like, this is so interesting. I wanted to read more and more and more and more. I wanted to learn more about it, and I couldn't stop reading about it. But the hardest thing was putting into practice.
But just reading about it and acknowledging is the first step. How did you start putting it into practice? You said it was difficult. What steps did you take?
Well, one of the steps is meditation. It's hard when you've never done it and you don't normally do it. But luckily, I had been practicing yoga for a number of years. So I was already doing a sort of moving meditation, and that really helped. And then just doing these little practices that these books told me to do. Slow down, don't do too much, don't think all the time. Starting to put those into practice was really difficult because it was the exact opposite of what I do with my life. I'm always go, go, go. I plan my day, with a list. I make sure I tick off everything on my list. I make sure I do everything on my list. But the little instances of knowing that I should quit my job, that was one of them. I asked my intuition, do I need to quit my job? Is that the right thing for me? Should I do that? And I got a clear answer that it was yes. So in a way, I knew really that I should do it, even though I was afraid of doing it.
That's an exercise that I've done myself. At this point in my life, I don't even bother asking other people. I ask myself, and I will actually write the question out and I'll look at it. And sometimes the answer comes right away and sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I will just read the question and be open to the answer. I take it you're still studying intuition. How long did it take for you to find this new path you're on?
After 6 months of quitting my career and kind of unraveling my own emotions, I found body work. I was a yoga instructor at the time, and I was kind of pursuing that because that's what I knew. And a friend of mine who's also a yoga instructor I knew was also a massage therapist. And if you want to learn more about the body, kind of at the yoga level, you really had to find other avenues like going to massage school, because at the time I just wanted to learn more anatomy and learn more about kinesiology, but I didn't want to go back to school to earn a degree and that kind of thing. So I asked my friend who was a therapist, and she said, oh, actually, I don't do massage. I do a specialty called craniosacral therapy. And so she started to talk to me about it. She really loves the work. She thinks it's very profound. And at the end of it, she said to me, I think you'd be a really good therapist. You should look into that.
How did that feel to you when she said that?
That felt really good, actually. Even though I had no idea what she was talking about, I didn't really understand exactly what she was saying, but she said it was profound work, and I really liked that. And thinking about taking the class felt good. It felt clear. That's the intuition talking and saying, like, if there's nothing heavy or weighted about it and it feels open and clear, then that's a path that you should take.
I agree with that 100%. It's how you feel. So intuition is the art of feeling. It's the art of being in tune. And I say art because everybody comes to it a different way.
Yes, definitely. Everybody can perceive it a little bit differently. So you have to learn for yourself how you can hear it better, because it's sort of like different senses. Everybody has those 5 senses. Some people smell better, some people hear better, some people see better. Intuition is a little bit the same way. For me, my intuition comes a lot through my feelings, my heart. Some people hear it a little better. Some people know it or download that information better. So everybody perceives their intuition a little differently.
I think the way you know that you're on the right path is by the way it feels. Calm and good feeling. There's no stress involved with it. Even if there's a little fear of the unknown, if the underlying current is peace in a way, that's on the right track. If you're in your head a lot and you're thinking, well, it doesn't make sense to leave my job because I make a lot of money. And then what is my family going to say? And I have spent 8 years of my life doing this. Is that time going to be wasted? Those are all things that are in your head. And the question, or what you should be looking for, is how does it feel every time I say that statement? Oh, I've spent 8 years. If the feeling is more like I can't bear to spend another 8 years, that's a big clue. Listen to that. If the fear is, what are my parents going to say? And then your inner voice says, it's your life, not your parents. And you can hone in on it. That's following your intuition. If the money fear is your concern, then think about what is the cost of that money and how does that feel? Is it going to cost you your sanity? Is it going to cost you your soul? And then decide what's worth it. That's how you get out of your head, by feeling what feels better.
I think at first when people start off, you still have that underlying fear, and that sometimes that feeling can be larger than your intuition.
Now that you're a career coach, how do you guide people when they have these questions? Because in the beginning, these are very valid concerns, and these are things that can stop you from going forward. How do you guide them over that hump?
I encourage them to visualize themselves doing that work or moving into that decision and see how that makes you feel. And also visualizing yourself taking the other decision, seeing how that makes you feel. And if you have both feelings and there's a big feeling of fear and a big feeling of do it, take that risk. I encourage people to take that risk or compromise. If there's a compromise where you can still take that risk, but still hold on to something that's going to keep you secure. For instance, a lot of people that I coach, they don't want to completely leave their jobs. They want to stay with it a little bit because it does provide them money. It does have some benefit to them. And they want to build up their other career on the side until, and even though they know they feel bad in this other job, they compromise with themselves. They want to hold on to it. And that's okay.
It's little steps actually that are safer than taking a giant leap. You actually can turn out okay if you have a big dramatic escape, but it's not the most comfortable way to go about it. So little steps, just pivoting in the right direction, being grateful for the benefits of the job or whatever situation that you do have, and then looking in the direction you want to go and just kind of slowly turn there. It's more a gentle way of arriving at that destination.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like to tell people to do something they don't want to do. Some people are more risk takers and some people aren't. So you need to be comfortable where you're at.
What kind of things do you do in your coaching business?
I mainly coach people through obstacles if they have a career obstacle. Some of my people are already in careers that they enjoy and they just need help with something that's going on. Some people have quit their careers already and they want to figure out what their next step is. Some people have a lot of ideas and they just need someone to talk to about it. And they need help with organization and someone to consult about what they're doing and where they're going in their life.
What are some of the highlights of how one can tune into their intuition?
I love meditation because meditation is about slowing down, turning off your brain, tuning into your senses, and finding a moment of peace. And that's where your intuition really lives, in this place in your heart, in your body that's peaceful, that's quiet, that is not disturbed by all these things around it.
Now, I have talked to people who say, I can't meditate because they have this belief that they have to clear their mind of all thought. And they say, well, I always have thought in my mind. How do you coach somebody into changing that perspective and meditating in a better way?
Baby steps. I love to do moving meditation. So there are so many different ways to meditate. The heart of meditation is about slowing down, paying attention to what's around you and being really present, and then finding a little sense of peace with whatever you're doing. So do a moving meditation. Moving meditation meaning when you're doing something like walking, just be in the moment. Walk, be in your shoes, feel the shoes on the ground, feel your breath as you breathe, notice the sights and sounds around you, and don't think with your brain, but use your senses. Use your senses to be in that place, and that is itself is a meditation.
And start small. Don't try for a 20-minute meditation. Start with a 5-minute meditation and just see if you can focus just on your breathing or just on your walking.
Yes, totally. The whole goal is to just think about where you're at. Like you said, think about I am walking, I am breathing, the grass is green, that patch of grass is brown. Think about where you are and not about what's in the past, about what's in the future. Just be present.
And it's learning to focus. It's such a good exercise for all aspects of your life as well. What about writing? Do you have any writing exercises or recommend them?
Yeah, I love writing because for me, I have a monkey mind. I'm always thinking about what I need to do next, thinking about where I'm going, planning my future, planning this, planning that. And so most mornings I try to do a brain dump. Brain dump is writing down everything that's in my brain that I have to do, that I want to do, these ideas that I have, and just putting them down on paper so that they have a place to live that's not inside my head. And then if there's something that's bothering me or something that I'm worried about, then I write about it. It's just a journal dialogue to myself about everything that I'm thinking about, and just let it go, just so that it's not in my head or in my body anymore, but on paper, expressed and outside.
Do you find that you ever come up with solutions when you are writing it down on paper?
I find that my solutions come to me when I'm exercising, actually.
So exercise is another part of your coaching recommendations.
Yeah, just having a healthy body helps to clear the mind too.
Right. When you feel better physically, then your mind is more relaxed. That's very true.
Yeah, they go together. And so having clarity in your body, not having stress, letting go, exercising, those are great ways to help you have less of a monkey mind. If you have a lot of pent up energy, then your brain's going to have a lot of pent up energy too.
How long have you been a career coach now?
I've been coaching for about 2 years now. I got certified in 2018 and started my business then.
And how do you feel about the decision that you made about leaving and tuning into yourself, and it's taken you to this place where you are now?
I'm happy that I did it. I don't regret it, even though I went through so much inner turmoil, because the journey was also about me healing my own negativity so that I could step into the kind of work that I'm meant to do. Because this kind of work really requires someone to not question themselves, not be angry at themselves all the time. You know, you need to be your own supporter sometimes, and that's what really helps you get you on your path too. So for me, it was twofold of not just listening to my intuition about career, but listening to myself about compassion, being kinder to myself, being able to support myself internally, and learning that I can be my best cheerleader.
It's a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance, giving yourself a break. We're so hard on ourselves. So many of us are so hard on ourselves, and it doesn't serve us at all.
It's a huge obstacle. Usually when people have an obstacle, it's internal.
Right. And they want to say, oh, well, it's because of this person or this situation that's in my way. But it's not. It's you.
Yeah. So a lot of my coaching is helping them to realize that, to bring that to light so that they can start to address the real issue and then move on from it because they haven't been able to figure that out. But having a coach helps them gain that perspective and then start to see that, okay, I'm in this situation. What do I do about it? How can I change? How do I work from the inside out?
Are there any reading materials or any direction that you can offer that would be a good place for someone to start who has no idea about this or maybe hearing about this for the first time after listening to this podcast?
Yeah. One of the books that I read in the beginning that I really enjoyed was called Practical Intuition by Laura Day. And she just breaks it down very well. She gives you exercises on how to hear it better. And then I love the book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It doesn't say intuition specifically, but every story is about someone that listened to themselves. And that's essentially what it is. They listened to themselves rather than what everybody around them was saying. And that's what brought them success. And that's what that book is all about. And so I love that book as an encouragement to people to start to listen to themselves more.
When you start listening to yourself, you will never, ever trust anyone else's opinion again.
Is that what your life has been like?
Absolutely, yes. Similar story. Just, pleased others. Decisions were made for me. I did what I was told to do, and then I did what I thought I had to do. And as I said in the beginning, when something feels uncomfortable and you ignore those signs, don't worry, they'll get bigger until you have to make a decision. I think that happens to most people. But I want everyone to know it doesn't have to be so dramatic, really. If you learn these tools now when you're young, you can just start moving in the direction you want to. You don't have to have a big blow up. You do not have to implode. It's actually much more comfortable if you don't.
And you can learn them at any age.
That's right. And this audience is young. And if they can pick something up here that'll help them and save them some time in the future, that's my goal. Miinkay, how can people find you?
People can find me on my website. I have a podcast that talks all about finding your calling through using your intuition. So I teach all about intuition, what it is, how to find it, how to hear it better. I provide meditations on the podcast so that you can have someone to guide you through a meditation, what it is, how to do it, how to be in it. It's called What's Your Calling? You can find it on Apple, Spotify, and Google. The website is whatsyourcalling.us. And to find me, you can email me at coach@miinkayyu.com.
Where are you based right now?
I live in Torrance, California.
Do you do online coaching or in person?
Everything is online now. I just do everything through Zoom.
So you don't have to live in California to talk
Exactly.
with you.
You can live anywhere. My clients come from all over. I just want to encourage people that even if it seems like you're not in the right place, you have no idea what to do, reach out. Look for help about how to listen to yourself, and then get comfortable with listening to yourself, because really that's what's going to guide you. There's not going to be any coach, any parent, any mentor, anyone that's going to be able to tell you what's best for you.
100% agreed. This was such a good interview. I enjoyed it immensely. I'm 100% on the same page as you.
Yeah.
And I really hope that you out there enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you so much, Miinkay, for
Thank you.
offering all this wisdom and knowledge today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I love meeting like-minded people. And Laura and I went through the same process of figuring out our lives, so you guys can do it too. Have no fear.
Did this resonate with some of you? It's there, guys. You have it. Even if you haven't heard it yet, your inner voice is calling to you. It always is, and it is really patient. It's waiting for you to just tune into it, and it'll never give up on you. And spoiler alert, it always leads you to good stuff. If you're feeling some impetus right now, have a chat with Coach Miinkay. All of her contact information will be in the show notes, which can be found at howtolife.com/025. And maybe check out some of her book recommendations or find some of your own readings to start you on your journey. If you want to hear the stories of some others who have followed their own calling, I recommend you have a listen to episode 5 of the How to Life podcast, What is the Sound of Your Calling, with Yoni Malari, episode 14, Painting the Dream with Pete Castro, and episode 23, How to Tune Out the Negative Talk with Mike Lander. Those are all 3 inspirational stories of people who followed their own calling, listened to that inner voice, and it took them to places that they are really happy about. I think you'll also find episode 4, What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do, helpful as well. I would love to hear about your experience with your own intuition. Please send me your stories, thoughts, and insights to drlj@howtolife.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment to give it a 5-star rating before you sign off or leave a positive review. I thank you in advance for that. That's all for now, friends. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Slow down and pace yourself. Make sure you appreciate all the wonderful things in your life and keep that attitude of gratitude. You are doing such a great job. Keep going. You got this.